Hello, good people. I believe we are live. Y'all know the routine. Y'all see me do it every week. I'm looking to my right, looking at the monitor to make sure it's streaming. I think it is, but I'm going to refresh my browser to make sure. And at the same time, making sure that you guys can't hear my stream on my side. But there we go. Looks like we're live. So welcome. And as you can see, guys, special guest in the building. I mean, I don't know if I should say guest because he's here quite often, but let's just say a good buddy Kenyon is in the building, so y'all already know what that means. SteelTable time. Like it says in the title, it's time to talk Steelers. Minicamp is over. We got quite a few topics to get into. I'll read those really quick so we can dive right in. Main topics that we want to hit on tonight, and of course, we'll answer questions in the chat. But James Pierre getting a lot of attention coming out of minicamp. Veteran guard Trai Turner has visited with the Steelers. Antoine Brooks Jr. gets reps at nickel with the number ones. And according to Mike Preseason, it's his job to lose. So that is interesting. Diontae Johnson using tennis balls to work on his drops. Is Steven Nelson's market the reason why he hasn't been signed? We'll talk about that. And, I'll go in a little bit to what I mean by that. And then the next question is, who will be the Steelers quarterback in 2022? Kenyon, of course, being our resident scout, he will definitely give us some guys to look out for in terms of 2022 draft prospects. But then there's a whole lot of hype around this dude named Dwayne Haskins. So we'll dive into that as well. But other than that, man, Kenyon, how you been, man? I mean, I know how you been, but tell the good people how everything has been going on, man, and let me know which direction you want to go in first.
Whatever you want to attack, I've been all right. I told Sim off before the show, had to get my second vaccination. Everybody get vaccinated, and I had to struggle a little bit, but it's part of the deal. So other than that, I've been all right. It's just been hot. LA's been hot. That's all I can say. In a lot of ways. So knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
So, not to be off topic, let me just give a gone fishing to the 76ers. I know it hurts him. I didn't even text him.
I told you.
I know it hurts him. I know it hurts Antoine. But I told everybody before the season and about Doc, and I'll leave it at that. And I told y'all about Ben Simmons, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, everybody knows I'm a football dude, but basketball is that's really my wheelhouse. So, you think I'm good at football stuff? No. I played basketball, so I know what it's about. So, look, Philly got an issue. They have a decision to make, and
big one.
And I don't think I'm just going to be honest, it's not fixable with their current situation. You're going to have to make a move. And the problem is that the value of the player has dropped because of his inability to want to take shots or to make shots. So it's kind of sad watching that because it's, too much talent to not have the basic thing that you need to do when you're playing the sport of basketball. If you can do all these things, the one thing you should be able to do is shoot.
And make free throws, I might add.
That's shooting. So and the funny thing about it is called free throws, not paid. You know what I mean? You're not paid throws. You know what I mean? You make them to get free throws, and 29% for a 6'10" player in 2021. That's all I gotta say about that.
Man, y'all know this ain't the Steelers post-game show, but just for fun. Ben Simmons, you need to bring yourself into the office right now. Come on in here, brother. We got to talk to you really quick, and then we're going to talk about Steelers business. But Ben Simmons, I've been saying it about you all year. I knew at some point you were going to be a liability. I knew it. But it's funny, though, because in preseason and in the offseason, you shooting the ball. Even in preseason, you dropping back. I seen you hit a couple threes. You showing a little mid-range. I'm thinking, maybe. What happened to that? The fact is that you didn't even attempt to shoot is the problem. You didn't attempt to shoot. Not that you didn't make them. You didn't even try. Worst of all, I don't think in all of my years watching basketball, I don't think I have ever seen a guy of your stature and your skill set that passes up a dunk. When the score is 98-96, a couple of minutes left in the game, bruh, I need you to explain to me what was going on there. Was you scared you're going to get fouled and you scared to go to the free throw line, which you admitted that it's in your head? Dude, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Last thing I think I'm going to say is I think it's time, man. I think the good people of Philly deserve a little more than that. Shout outs to Embiid. Listen, Embiid, you're not off the hook either because I've been asking for you to play like this your entire career so far, and finally you've done it. Well, this is a Steelers podcast, so we're going to get off of that, but I had to bring Ben Simmons into the office because some of you guys asked for it. It's time for him to go, man. I'm sorry. You know, we saw it happen with Markelle Fultz. Sometimes you got to move on. I just think it's a waste of Embiid's talent to not at least have – and let's be honest, and, you know, Kenyon would understand this. And like I said, we're going to get off of this because we could go forever. In this day and age of basketball, you got to have somebody else. I mean, let's face it. Even Jordan had Pippen. Not saying he needed him, but yeah, he kind of needed him. We don't really have that in Philly. We had a couple shooters. Seth, shout outs to Seth Curry, man. He did his thing.
Yeah.
Tobias, you was kind of hot early. What happened to you? You kind of faded off late.
That's a big thing right there. I mean, that's the underlying thing that people don't talk about. It's really Tobias, because if Tobias steps up, then it kind of negates what Ben is doing, and you kind of don't need Ben to score for you. But when Tobias kind of started to drop off his play, it really affected what Philly was trying to do, especially in the Danny Green injury hurt because he spreads the floor, and you know, I mean, it just allows him to be more versatile. So those issues, and you can't say well, if this
Danny
happened,
Green getting hurt.
Yeah, if you say if this happened, if that happened, that doesn't matter. Look, injuries are part of the game. Everybody's hurt. It's part. It doesn't lessen what you do. That's why it's called next man up. Whoever this tests your bench and what you have acquired during the year. And look, Embiid gets respect from me. He's injured. He played injured. Simmons been saying
let's not forget a partial tear. This dude giving you 40 one night, 30 the next night. I think he averaged 30 that whole series.
Yeah, it gets respect from me. I mean, so like to me, it's just you can't have a guy on the floor who can't shoot and becomes a liability when they're doing hack a bin with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and Doc has to take you off the floor, and you're the second best player. You just can't do it. There's no other discussion to have. You can't do that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, at least Shaq was still aggressive, even though he knew he was going to go to the line. He was missing free throws. He was still aggressive during his day. You know what I mean? So
that's it. Did y'all see Shaq in the post game?
Yeah.
I love those dudes, but you know what? They kind of remind me in no way, shape, or form. Are we close to that? Because I ain't make it to no NFL. As far as I know, Kenyon didn't go to the NBA or the NFL. But they kind of remind me of how we do our thing. Because Shaq and Charles, man, you could tell that it's coming from a player's perspective. Like, I love it. When Shaq was like, dog, be aggressive. I don't care about all that. You be aggressive. You gave up a dunk. Yo, go slow down the clip. He might even get that joint, Kenyon, without being fouled. That's how open it was. But
that's what he was thinking about. He was thinking about, if I go up, I might get fouled. And if you look at the play, you watch the play, you see the player back off, like I'm conceding the dunk because Ben was so far underneath. And here's the thing. It was 1:23 left in the game. He dunks that. It's tied up 98-98. And he doesn't do it. He passes it up. And, it's time, man. It's time. I've been saying this, but it's time. But people still trying to give him a chance. And I said, Philly fans are unforgiving. They don't – he won't be able to live in Philadelphia. Like real talk. He won't be able to live in Philadelphia. That's the way that they look at it. So
he got to go.
They have to make a move. And, like I said, if they can try to get him out there, trade him to Portland. Go get Portland's 2 guard and that would help this. I mean, really, the move that should have been made was they should have made the move for James Harden. So imagine James Harden with Joel Embiid.
Holy moly!
Then it would be impossible to guard them. So but I feel for Philly fans. I'm just a basketball fan. Everybody knows I have no dog in the race. I just like watching basketball. I don't root for anybody. Player I rooted for retired, so I don't. I just enjoy the game. So it does frustrate you to watch that much talent not be fulfilled. And the only reason I said watch out for Doc is because I experienced this with the Clippers for the last 4 years, and that's what Doc doesn't make adjustments. That's another thing people don't talk about. He doesn't want to adjust. And I was telling Antoine that, and he was like, okay, I give him a chance. You will soon see what I already know. So now you know. So, but let's get to football.
Yeah, let's get to football, man. We'll see what happens in the offseason. Now, this is a topic that you guys have thrown in the chat. Outside of our topics, why not? Let's start with this one because I didn't hear this. Right there. Ozzy Tank says Gilmore said at the Steelers, if the Steelers would call him, he would sign a 1-year, $7 million deal. Interesting. Question is, would the Steelers do that? I got to think hard on this one, Kenyon. $7 million is probably doable some kind of way, the way they could finagle it, I think. But I don't know how that applies with 1-year deals. I don't know if maybe you could still somehow do a avoidable year situation since they're expecting a lot of cap next year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they do it only because I believe they feel confident in Cam Sutton, and look who's in the title. We're gonna get into James Pierre as well. I think they feel a little confident in those guys that I don't know if they would jump out the window and sign a 7-year, a 1-year, $7 million for a corner. Not saying I wouldn't want him, but what is Gilmore now? About 30?
31.
See, I don't know. I don't know if you do that. I don't know if I would want them to do that. Well, honestly, let me rephrase that. If you can do it in a way to where it's not really going to hurt us money-wise, why not? I mean, why not? Is Gilmore still what he was? That I don't know. I didn't play, I didn't see much of him play last year.
Right.
To know, you know what I mean? Or did he play? I don't even remember. Was he a sit-out or no? I think he played. I don't remember. Y'all said 30, 31 in September. Yeah, so essentially 31. Y'all help me out, guys. Did he play last year? And yeah, Let's Toast Media. I would probably take Gilmore over Sherman at this point. I don't remember if he played last year. I didn't watch a lot of Patriots. They didn't do much, so they weren't on my radar.
I'm wondering if he played. I think he may have played, but I don't know how many games he played.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry, guys.
I think he did play. Yeah.
I forgot, man. We didn't even do the intros, man. Sorry, guys. We just started talking. But let's say hello to everybody who's here, particularly the lovely ladies in the chat. Hello, ladies. Destiny. I saw Lanisha in here. Lanisha, thank you for your donation offline. So I definitely appreciate that. And who else is there? Is Debbie in here or Sade or any of the other ladies? If you guys are, hello to you. And somebody said, yeah, he played, but he got injured. Okay. Destiny said that. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's just my 2 cents. He did get COVID. I think I do remember that. That's my 2 cents, man. I'll throw it to Kenyon, but that's all I got. I don't know if I do that right now.
I don't know if I would bring Gilmore in. I mean, I guess you could look at it 2 ways. As a veteran corner, he would help immediately. But I think I kind of like Cam Sutton on the outside. And really what the discussion is the emergence of James Pierre, which to me, I don't know if I would jump on that to sign a Gilmore with Pierre emerging. And also, Antoine Brooks. So all these, I just think I think the Steelers like their DB situation right now. I don't know if they necessarily love it. And Gilmore obviously would be an upgrade over. It would be a slight upgrade over Cam Sutton, but the problem is that Cam Sutton has been in the system. So Sutton's IQ to me is the thing that people don't talk about. Like they talk about other things, they don't talk about his IQ. And his IQ to me is what is really the reason why they let Hilton go, because they felt that Sutton was the better overall cornerback prospect. And you can put somebody in the slot. You know, Mike Hilton, for a lot of people, he was a unique player where you really didn't want him in coverage. He was great at blitzing, but you didn't want him in coverage. So while Cam Sutton is not the tackler that Hilton was, he's not nearly the tackler. He's smarter than Hilton in a lot of ways with just his positioning and where to be and all that stuff that people really don't talk about. So to bring in a Gilmore, Sherman to me is just not even discussion. He's a zone cornerback, and we don't play zone, so I don't know why. I mean, I wouldn't. No. But I think Pierre, his emergence is an interesting development that we'll see in training camp, as well as Antoine Brooks, who, Mike Pursuta has already said has the opening shot at playing the slot. So if Antoine Brooks is the guy, Antoine Brooks is the bigger version of Mike Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
And he hits harder. So if he can not lose that job and he can emerge and really the Pierre situation to me, just me personally, what I think is really happening is this is just the development of a guy who will be the starting cornerback in 2022, because I don't think Joe Hayden will be back. So I think your starting cornerbacks will be Pierre and Sutton on the outside. You know what I'm saying, Sam? And you have those two guys, and then maybe you can draft a corner in 2022, maybe not in the first or the second, but address it again, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because their history is not great at drafting corners, but I always say you got to keep drafting them. I mean, you can't worry about failing with Artie Burns, or there's certain situations that were unfortunate. So to me, I think Pierre is a long-term situation. His emergence allows them to have flexibility in 2022. So for me, to sign Gilmore to $7 million, 1 year, $7 million deal, I probably wouldn't do it. But it wouldn't bother me, but I just wouldn't do it. That's just me. If I was Kenyon Colbert, as they would say. But no.
I don't think I do that right now, man. And I've missed it. We already talked about it, but shout outs to Antoine for the donation. He said, get Ben in the office. We already brought him in there. But yeah, guys, I don't think, and actually, I see that I have the round of applause going through the wrong output. My bad, y'all. I'll fix it. But yeah, I don't think, I'm not doing that at this moment. I'm not. I mean, it sounds cool, man. But again, and I hate to sound like we're making dudes old. I mean, if you're 30 years old, 31, 32, you are a relatively young person in the world. But we're just talking about the NFL and the twitchiness, and it's, y'all understand that's older for a corner. There's not many guys that can play corner past 30, like efficiently on the outside, and you're expecting them to be locked down. So you kind of have to look at that too, man. When you think about GMs, the business side of it, when they're wheeling and dealing. I know people, again, this isn't a disrespect term, but it's like a term that I've been using lately. I say a lot of fans are just the highlight fans. And what I mean by that is you just know the general stuff. Oh, this dude had 2 touchdowns in a game. Oh, he must be great. Oh, this guy had 2 interceptions in 2 games. Oh, he must be, you don't know the inner workings of everything. And you can include that with off the field stuff and finances. Everybody doesn't understand it. A lot of people just hear, oh, we could probably make that happen. But, when you are a GM, you are an owner, even a coach, you have to evaluate, does this make sense to spend this money? We got a couple young guys here. We already have an older. Think about this. Kenyon just reminded me of that. You already have an older guy in Joe Hayden who's more than likely gone after this season. He might not even finish this season. He might not putting it on him. I'm just saying. He got injured a little bit last year, or he had COVID or something. It was something. What was the reason why he couldn't play? Wasn't it COVID?
Yeah,
I think it was COVID.
Yeah.
So anything could happen with Joe Hayden, and he's on the older end. So do you spend $7 million on a guy that's close to his age? I don't think it makes sense, because then it literally would be a 1-year trial.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't think they do that. But we definitely appreciate that, man, giving us something else to talk about there. Let's see. I guess we could stick right with that theme, man. Let's talk about Steven Nelson real quick. I feel like I want to know what you guys think. Definitely want to hear what Kenyon has to say. The fact that he hasn't signed, do you buy the notion of he's being patient? He has offers on the table, which he may, because he played relatively well if you consider the last 2 seasons, right? I think some NFL teams are going to look at last season, and last season wasn't your traditional, and even though he's a veteran, they're going to be teams that are going to feel like 2020 was kind of we're trying to figure it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's very possible that, they might not look at his season last year and consider that's all he has. They'll probably go back and look at his last 2 years and decide what he can do for them. So I'm sure there's offers on the table. But here's the question. Does he have significant offers on the table? Or is his market, dictating why he hasn't signed yet? And that, to me, is a good question. I don't know if Steven Nelson's market is as high as he thinks it is. And the reason why I even bring this up, now we're talking about paying a veteran. Is it possible Steven Nelson circles back to Pittsburgh because, he's not, the money that he's looking to get is not out there, and then he can maybe, settle, kind of do a Juju situation. Not saying Juju settle, but maybe he's not, the money that he wants is not out there. Maybe he comes back to Pittsburgh and say, hey, can we find, a happy medium on a 1-year deal? Let me bet on myself. And if, maybe I'm a free agent again next year. So I do wonder that. What you think, Kenyon, man? Do you think his market is as high as he thinks it is? Is that the reason why he hasn't signed? Or, is he actually technically just being patient?
I mean, both things can be true. He can be patient, but the market might not be what he thinks it is or what he thought of himself. And, you haven't seen a lot of guys really being signed in this period right here. This is kind of like a lot of ways a dead period.
Yeah.
So he may eventually get signed. And I do agree he could circle back to Pittsburgh. And that would be an interesting situation. But I like Steven Nelson. I think he played well for us. I think of the 2 years he played, the first year he was really great. Last year, a lot of times he was called out of position sometimes. Sometimes he got beat, but that's part of the cornerback position. You're going to get beat. You know what I mean? You're not going to stop everybody. And, I kind of wish him well. I really wish he would have stayed with Pittsburgh because it would just solidified our secondary even more. But then if you look at it that way, this allowed Cam Sutton to kind of spread his wings, James Pierre to emerge. And, he's still on that track of emerging. Antoine Brooks get a little run because he wasn't getting any run really. And
yeah.
So the way I look at it is, if he comes back, cool. If he doesn't, cool. Either way, to me, I'm straight. And I think I prefer the way we are right now, even though people question our secondary. I have more of a positive outlook on it because I'm looking at it like, hey, we got a veteran back there. We got some young bucks back there that's hungry, that want to make a move, and that should get you clapping. Like, hey, let's go. We got some dudes, Pierre and even Justin Lane, I mean, you can't really count him out yet. We don't really know until training camp, but this is a proven year for Justin Lane, and Antoine Brooks looks like he's going to get his shot. So, I wish Steven Nelson well. And, when with the initial release, me and you and Tony had texted each other, and it was almost like we were shocked, but it wasn't really a shock. Like, it wasn't a shock like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It was more like, well, somebody was going to get cut that we didn't think was going to get cut, and, you have to think about those financial situations in their current cap situation. He was kind of like a year too early, because next year our cap is going to be so good that we could have signed him. But he may have placed his value higher than what it is. But we'll see where he signs. I think he'll get picked up. There's no doubt in my mind he'll get picked up. But if you notice, the top cornerbacks haven't really been signed yet. So obviously this is a dead period. So we'll know in the upcoming month before training camp, and we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, just to clean up a few things, man. And appreciate that. Why did you see? I didn't know. I was just going off of a man's comment. He says Gilmore is not a free agent. He's just holding out. So there you go. That changes a lot of things there. Let's see. Relfax says, yeah, and we can talk about this real quick too, Kenyon. He says, guess that means Justin Lane is a bust. I would say no.
Nope.
Let's remember Justin Lane was well, you know what? Here's a double question as before I answer that, and I'll ask the chat. What do you guys consider a bust? What round draft pick is considered a bust? Because personally, Justin Lane, if I remember correctly, let me make sure I got this correct. We drafted him along with Diontae Johnson that year, I think. Right?
You're right.
Diontae was who we took in the second.
Right.
We took Lane in the third, right?
He's a third round project.
So, and he's a project. Let's not forget that Justin Lane, did pretty good in college, but he was a converted wide receiver. So I wouldn't call him a bust. It's just that he was one of those guys that made a little noise that year. I guess because of the class that he came out with. He did some things in college. But I don't consider a third round pick a bust. Me personally, I might not go past the second round as far as a bust.
I agree.
And sometimes I might not even consider a second round guy a bust, depending on, what position. But I usually reserve that for first round. Who's that guy you chose first over everybody else, right? He's one of the first 32. Who's the guy you move? Devin Bush. If Devin Bush turns out to never, ever be anything.
Right. He will fall into the bust. Jarvis Jones.
Bust.
Artie, I can't cover
bust.
anybody Burns.
Artie bust.
Artie bust. I don't want to bring up old ghosts for you guys, but number 48, who underachieved. If he didn't play well that last year, what would it have been? It would have been a bust. So
bust
those, right. so
oh man.
So you can't I'm with you. I don't really third round players to me are not. I don't really consider them bust because it's really once you get to the third round, that's almost like there are starters in the third round, and you can find your starters in the third round. But I can't put the pressure of he's a bust because I can't. Anybody remember Sinquez Golston?
Oh man,
remember?
Yeah.
Here's what. So those are like busts to me. Whether it's injury or whatever. Like Justin Lane, technically, if we're having a discussion, really he's only been on the field. He hasn't really had that many snaps.
Right.
Go check his snap count. He hasn't really had that many snaps, so I can't really call him a bust. And he has been okay on special teams. Thing is that Pierre is undrafted and he's outplayed him.
Sammy Coates, no, he's not a bust.
Sammy Coates not a bust. He wasn't a bust. So those certain players that you look at, you have to, as Sim says, you have to look at the totality. And you can't really be a bust. As I told y'all before, you really can't start talking bust until after the third year. After the third year, you have a little picture of what's going on. It's not 5, because 5 years, if they don't pick up the option, they won't see year 5. So that's 4. So, I have hopes for Justin Lane. It's really, what kind of mindset does he have coming in there? Because if you look at his body and all that stuff, he has the frame to be a good corner, but he is a project. And you know what? I do believe in Terrell Austin, and I think with his development of cornerbacks. And if he's a long-term project, so be it. If he doesn't make it, so be it. But to me, he'll never be a bust because I never expected him to be a starter or be a star. That's the best way to put it.
Absolutely. Yeah, y'all throwing some good names out there. Lyman Swede. Even though, he was a busting loose, boy. Oh, my God.
Yeah, Lyman Swede was a bust.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No, Edmonds is not a bust.
No.
In the eyes of some Steelers fans, he is, but he's not.
He's not a bust.
Shamarko, Shamarko was another late one.
Shamarko was not. Yeah, he was late. He's not a bust. He wasn't a bust. The better argument, if you want to have a bust argument who didn't live up to expectation, the person you're forgetting is the person who fumbled in the Super Bowl.
Holy moly.
Now, you can have that discussion. We can have that discussion if you want to, but I just don't like talking about it. So, that's the person who you can say technically was a bust because he didn't really want to be a Steeler. He didn't really want to play football. Then he fumbled in the Super Bowl in a crucial moment. Then he retired abruptly. So,
yeah, I'll give him one better. He ain't a bust. He a bum. And y'all know I don't usually call professional athletes bum. I never liked him, man. It was, y'all know, sometimes you get certain players, and it could be different for all of us. But even when they do okay, you just never. I was never a fan of Mendenhall. I don't know. I just never was.
He never was a Steeler to me. He never felt like a Steeler to me. That's the best way to put it. He just never felt like, he was dynamic and sleek, but I always felt like there's something about him I agree with you. Some of them was like off. You just didn't feel like,
didn't feel
same time like with Ricky Williams, like when I used to watch him play football. At Texas, I thought he was a monster. I thought he was like this. He was the second greatest Texas back ever. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't better than Earl Campbell. It's just no way he ever could Earl. But he was the second greatest. But I never felt like he would ever become that it would translate. You know what I'm saying? To translate to the league, and he would become what he would. Where he got picked at. Always felt like that was Mike Ditka's worst. That was like the end of Mike Ditka when he traded all those picks. I was like, you do not trade all those picks from a running back. So
that's crazy. And y'all mad that we picked Najee, who fell to us at 24. Right. See, y'all forget some of the previous GM busts. Oh, my God.
Some of y'all that don't remember, that are young enough, don't remember, Mike Ditka traded away his whole draft to draft Ricky Williams. Basically the whole draft to get Ricky Williams. And, you talking about putting the Saints in a bad hole for years. You don't think the young people don't understand because the Saints became good. But before that, that was like the worst. That and even more history. When the Dallas Cowboys traded Herschel Walker to the Minnesota Vikings for all those picks, and basically Minnesota created the Dallas Cowboys dynasty. Their most recent dynasty, which is 20 years now, but their most recent dynasty, Minnesota facilitated them getting good. Because they used all those picks. Because remember, they had Troy Aikman. They got Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Jay Novak. They got everybody on that team. So I was like, look, you get mad at us getting Najee at 22 and telling us to trade up. That's why I'm not a big fan of trading up. Because I'm like, if you trade up, you better be sure. You better be sure. Because if you're not, whoo. Yeah, those are horror stories, son. Horror stories.
Yeah. Good conversation here, guys. Jason Worlds, he left. So it's hard to say if he was a bust. I was surprised that he decided to walk away when he did, but
he was productive. I can't call him a bust.
He was. Most of us thought he was going to be the next guy, and he walked off right when he had his chance.
Yep.
Let's see. What else, man? Before we dive into James Pierre. Veteran guard Trey Turner. This is interesting. Now, we also know that Malik Hooker came in, and we'll see what happens there. I think, unlike Steven Nelson, I do think Malik Hooker has a few opportunities, but it's probably not a money thing because he's coming off of an injury. I think he's literally trying to find the best fit for him. So it's possible that he comes back to Pittsburgh. We'll see. If he does, great. We can always use safety depth, especially now since it's talk of Brooks, who we're thinking would be a dime guy or another safety, now possibly playing nickel. So yeah, let's bring in some more safety, more guys who can actually get their hands on the ball. Malik Hooker has done that when he was healthy. Well, we'll see. But Trey Turner, though, man, that nothing against him. I'm a little curious, Kenyon, man, and I actually forgot this until I really started paying attention to minicamp and all. David DeCastro hasn't been there. Us bringing in a guard, what does that say? Especially since we know that Kevin Dotson, I'm pretty sure, is going to start off as the guy. He's almost said as much. He's going to be, the left guard. You assume David DeCastro. You got dudes in there like BJ Finney that's like a swing guy that can play guard, play center. And there's a couple other guys I think I'm probably forgetting. We know as far as the tackle position, I think that's where we need to look to upgrade. Are we 100% sure with Chooks, however way you say his name?
Right.
Your boy, man, from USC. I actually think Zach Banner is going to be a solid right tackle. I don't know why I feel that, because I haven't seen him play a lot, but when I have, just the mass. Remember what people used to say about Ramon Foster?
Right.
He's just big. And this dude bigger than that. And I do think he got some demeanor. And we have seen him come in as the 72 is eligible. So we've seen him block. I think he's going to be okay. Left tackle is still a concern for me only because we don't know what Chooks is going to offer us. So I would have thought the Steelers would have brought in a left tackle. I'm very interested, man, and curious to know why they're looking at a guard. Do you think it has anything to do with DeCastro? Maybe there's an injury or something going on, or, do they feel like the guard spot is a little more shaky? That there's not enough depth? Like, do you read anything into the fact that we brought in another guard, or is it more we're just looking for, more depth, period, at offensive line?
Nah, I mean, I guess you could look at it like, DeCastro hasn't been there. He's obviously there's something wrong that was wrong with him last year, obviously, and maybe he had a procedure done. I don't know what to read into it. Bringing in other players at certain positions doesn't do anything for me. Just the fact that Colbert will turn over every stone, and we do believe they will sign 2 more players, or maybe 2 to 3 more players before training camp to bring in as competition. The Trey Turner thing, I don't think he'll sign with us, because if they would have signed him, they would have signed him when he came in for the visit. And then also, if you look at it, Trey Turner has only really been healthy 1 year out of the last 4. So
and there we go.
That's a big thing. That's a big red flag. So if you look at I'm kind of not worried about DeCastro. And if you really look at, he's really the only veteran we have on that line. He's the last guy that played with Pouncey, and I know Villanueva, they were good friends and all that stuff. And I know he's good friends with Andrew Luck. They played together in college. So, but I believe DeCastro will come back, and I think Castro was motivated to have a good year if he's healthy, because he didn't have one last year. And, a lot of Steelers fans, wanted to ship him out and wanted to get rid of him, and, ready to throw him in the trash. And, I just find it interesting. It's like, we have such a short attention span to keep players, even if they have a bad year. So if they have a bad year, someone's like, get rid of him. He's trash. He's garbage. And I'm always like, if you play 8 years and 1 year is a down year, and I'm taking that. So, and I always look at it like DeCastro only has problems against one person who constantly beats him, and that's our boy from Philly. He just dominates him.
Oh, man.
So other than that, I feel like DeCastro will come back, and they kind of need DeCastro to come back. The depth behind DeCastro will be interesting because, but I like what Adrian Clem is doing, and I just like his attitude, his passion for it. I mean, he's the exact opposite of Sean Charette. Whereas, Sean Charette was kind of, by the book, more passive aggressive. Clem is not really passive aggressive. Adrian Clem is from LA. He's from the inner city. He's about, he knows about that life. You know what I mean? So, him and Zach Banner, Zach Banner spent half his life in LA too. So he knows what that's like playing in those environments. And, one thing I will say about the Pop Warner scene in Los Angeles is there's a lot of talent, but there's not a lot of great quarterbacks in the inner city. There's more athletic guys, but they can run the ball and they're physical. You get a lot of physical guys, and I just think what Clem brings is needed for us. But I'm positive with DeCastro. I think it'll be a welcome thing for DeCastro. I think DeCastro hasn't really run block like he did at Stanford since he was with Luck. Because remember, he learned that under Harbaugh. DeCastro knows about getting dirty and grindy, because that's what Stanford did in that era. So when Harbaugh was there, and they continued that tradition. So I'm positive with DeCastro, but I do believe he had procedure done. And also you have to remember, off the field, he has stuff going on. I think he had another kid, so that factors in. So, I have positive things with DeCastro. I don't have a negative thing with DeCastro. I just hope he not even hope he bounced back. I'm pretty sure he will have a bounce back year, but it'll be, I will say this, in 2022, I do believe the Steelers will draft a guard. I'll put money on that. So, yeah, that's all I have on him.
Yeah, man, we tough sometimes as Steelers fans on the, we be ready to throw a dude that's been solid for us for his whole career in the track. Like, y'all tough, man. Maybe he's just at the end of his I'll give y'all a perfect example, and I will always remember this because I was at the game where I knew the fork was stuck in him then. Ike Taylor. Y'all remember this season? I'm trying to remember what year it was. It might have been 2015. I think it was 2015. Go to Heinz Field, and for whatever reason, it was an incredibly warm day. If my cousin Floyd is in here, he'll remember. Because that was the first game I went to with him. We did the family thing, him and his wife, and me and my wife, and we sat close. Pro tip, by the way, for any of you guys who have ever been to Heinz Field, don't do like me and like around your first time. You don't have to sit that close. Let me explain to y'all this really quick. This is a sidebar. That year, we thinking we got to sit close. We in like the 200s, right? But here's the issue. We down on the 20-yard line. So when you that close, when the play is going this way, you looking like this, or you looking at the Jumbotron more than you looking at the field because of you're so close, you can't see the perspective. Next time I went to a game, some of you guys know the connection I had with EA Sports. EA Sports sent me some tickets. They were in the 500s, way up there. But let me tell you, from that point on, every time I go to the game, I don't buy a seat closer than 4. That above perspective, you see the entire. Y'all saw the intro that I used to play with Renegade. I don't play it anymore because copyright reasons. That was where I was sitting when I took that image. You can see the entire field. So don't think that you got to be fly and sit all close and pay way too much than you should be paying. I promise y'all, sit in the 500s, sit in the middle section, like around 5. If you're on the Steelers side, it's going to be like 534, 533. Perfect. It's up there, but I'm telling you, that's the way you want to watch a football game. But anyway, we watching this game. It was against the New Orleans Saints. And y'all remember it was that season where if we kept winning, we could somehow slide into the playoffs. And Drew Brees and the boys came in there, and it was an unusually warm day. This was November, and it was like 60-something degrees in Pittsburgh. And I saw it with my own eyes, man. I said, Ike done, bro. Ike just couldn't run no more. I never forget Drew Brees threw like a 60-yard bomb, and it looked like it. Floyd, if you in here, it looked like we watched that ball for an hour. We were just watching the ball like, wow. And boom. Into old boy's hands. Ike Taylor is like 10 yards behind him. And I didn't disrespect Ike Taylor. We knew Ike Taylor started off rough, turned into a very solid corner for us, and then it was just his time. But you're not going to hear me say, oh, Ike Taylor was like, dog, it was his time. It was, we might see that, and I don't want to jinx us, but we might start seeing that from Joe Hayden here soon. It happens. So I don't know why y'all be dogging DeCastro like that, man. Y'all ain't right, man. Y'all ain't right. That dude has been solid for us, and maybe it's just his time. Maybe it's just his time. But all right. Let's get back to, let's see, what else we want to get into. What else we got? Really only a couple more topics, man. Let's talk about Diontae Johnson. I could be quick and brief with this one, Kenyon. He's working on his drops. It's been reported, and he said himself that he's, catching tennis balls or whatever. I'm not even going to get into the fact that he drops the ball. I will, but from this perspective. All he has to do, hold on real quick, guys. We got a donation, so let me give a round of applause there. Appreciate that. Okay, he's talking about Ben Simmons. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Antoine, for the donation, man. But yeah, listen, I've been telling y'all this, and I believe this with all of my mind and the eyes that I see on the field. Diontae Johnson is 20 drops away from being elite. Diontae, to think about that. And what I'm saying is just go back and count his drops. If he catches half of those, Diontae Johnson, I promise y'all, can be a elite receiver for us. Easy 1,000 yards. Possibly easily 90 to 100 receptions a year. This dude can be that. He, to me, is the only guy right now that I think is can be a legit number one. I know some people are going to say, Claypool, we don't know yet. Pump your brakes. I know how y'all feel about Juju, and I love Juju, but Juju's he's not the number one in the sense of skill set like Diontae Johnson or like Antonio Brown. Diontae Johnson can be what Antonio Brown was for the Steelers. He has the tools. He just got to catch the ball. Catch the ball, man. You beat people all the time. Think about those games last year. How many times did you see him beat man coverage, beat one-on-one, Ben hits him, drop? No concentration. Kenyon been saying that for the longest time about him. He has no concentration. So whatever it is you got to do, whether it's tennis balls or going to therapy, because I think it's mental, dog, you ain't that far away. You are an elite receiver. I know some of y'all might not see that, but I'm telling you, the boy has that type of talent. Just got to catch the ball. That's all he got to do. We'll see. I don't know what else. What you got, Kenyon?
I don't know if when you were talking, did you understand the parallel, what you just said? Who is Diontae Johnson? I'm asking you. Who is Diontae Johnson? I'm asking you. We just talked about
who is he?
The beginning of the show. What did we just talk about? Before football. You said he has all the tools.
Ben Simmons.
He has all the. Okay, so what Ben Simmons cannot do? Shoot. What does Diontae Johnson does not do well? Catch the ball, right? Those are two kind of. If you're a wide receiver, what is your job? To catch the ball. So if you can't catch the ball consistently, that's too much pressure to put on to Diontae Johnson. I think that was my thing when we drafted him. People were calling him AB, and I was like, that's just too much pressure.
Yeah.
Because AB, you would never see AB have these drops in a game or during the season. He'll drop balls every 500 catches. That was AB. He'll drop it. It just rarely happened. So for Diontae Johnson to have, and I do believe his talent is number one talent. I do believe Chase Claypool's talent, once he gets his route tree together, is number one talent.
Oh yeah, it's over.
Juju to me, and I tell people this all the time, he's not your typical one, but what he does, those other receivers on our roster can't do what he does. So when you say we can put James Watson in there, he's not the slot that Juju is. There's nobody else that can do what Juju does. So in a lot of ways, he is a one in a different way, similar to Anquan Bolden was a one in a lot of ways. But people wouldn't call him a quote unquote, real one. But he is a one. You know what I mean? So he was a one. So they all to me have number one traits. I don't think James Watson has number one traits. I don't think as far as we go down the line. So and I just saw the comment that was posted by John Gotti, and I would just say that you don't know if Chase Claypool's going to be better than Diontae. It's a projection. You don't know that. And Diontae Johnson you could argue, has had bigger plays, a bigger impact. And as I said before, Claypool is still a young pup that never emerged as a number one in Notre Dame. And if you watch his route tree, he doesn't have the route tree where I would consider him a number one. Does he have potential? Yes, but I don't consider him a number one route tree guy, which is why before the draft, when Sim and I did the draft previews back then, and we were comparing the receivers, which is why Sim and I both came to the same, agreement that we would pick Pittman ahead of him because Pittman already has the things that Claypool doesn't have. And if you think Claypool has the things that Pittman has, he doesn't. He doesn't have his feet. He doesn't run routes like that. And you already see in Indianapolis, they're talking about Pittman being number one already. He's been there 1 year. They're already talking about putting him number one now. So that just tells you
he gave us a little bit of work last year.
He gave us a little bit of work. And Sim saw the video. We both saw the video. As Sim points out a lot of times, his feet and his brother's feet are better than his, which is even worse. So and feet matter. When you don't think feet matter, they matter because it allows you to get off the ball, and that short area quickness is what gets you that burst, that separation that you need. And that's something to me Claypool will develop, but Pittman already has, which is why he's a better number one prospect. But they both are. Claypool has more talent. He's more gifted. He's 6'4". He's a beast. You know what I mean? But until I see him beasting people on a consistent basis and working on that route tree and him not running 2 or 3 routes, then I will concede that. But, which is why we always tell you, watch games, watch film. Sim tells you that all the time. I'll tell you that all the time when you watch players. Watch how they play because it just opens the door to everything. You know what I mean? Instead of just watching highlights, as Sim likes to say, instead of watching ESPN or NFL Network highlights, because what you get is the best. You know what I mean? They only show you the best parts. They don't show you how he got there, how he got to this point. And that's important. I guess the best way I can put it, it's the fundamentals of football. So
yeah, you got to pay attention to that, man. And shout outs to Gotti. I saw you said that he already had a better rookie. See, you gotta look at everything though. You can't just look at the numbers. We not talking about numbers. It's the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady effect. That's what I always say. Aaron Rodgers is a by far better quarterback in terms of skill than Brady. I give Brady his props, but come on, man. He can't do what Aaron Rodgers can do, but Brady got 6 of them things.
Yep.
It ain't always about the numbers. Like, we're not just talking about that. We're talking about skill set. Like Kenyon said, and I knew he was going to say it. That's why I didn't say anything. One of the main reasons why Diontae right now is better than Claypool, feet. Claypool don't, man, again, Kenyon showed me this a while back. The comparison between him and Pittman and the young Pittman, the footwork is just those things you can't teach. Maybe Claypool will get it. And, I'm not taking nothing away from him. He's a bigger dude. And sometimes you might not be as agile as others, but he has open field speed. But here's another thing I put against him. He don't really get separation like that. Now, I think these things can be taught because at that size, he can live up to that Mapletron, comparison to Megatron. I think he can. We're just talking about right now the best route runner, the best feet, the most shifty in terms of getting open and wiggle room and beating man coverage. That's Diontae Johnson on our team as of today. Hopefully, we're coming back and we're saying, yo, Claypool might have emerged as the number one. That's, so we're not putting him down. I hope he turns into that. But right now, I don't think that's it. We'll see. But
and the only thing I would add to that is that, as you said, separation.
Oh, Brady do got 7.
He got 7, man.
That's right. Gee, see that? I forgot that quick.
So one thing I would add is, if you're talking about separation on the team, if Diontae's first, James Washington's second.
Oh man.
I mean, just think about it like that. James
Washington go get that thing.
He always gets separation. He always separates with people. So if you're gonna have that discussion, as Sim said, that's a trait you can develop. That's something that Claypool can have later on in his career, and it's the only thing I've learned from starting this kind of like ghetto scouting, evaluating that Spillane kind of and Tony started to get into whatever. It's just you have to start looking at the little stuff, because that little stuff is what really makes the player as you evaluate players. It makes the player what they are. So, Diontae Johnson is kind of like a slower version of Odell, but he doesn't concentrate as well as Odell does. And if he did concentrate like him, he would be like Odell. He's not as fast as Odell Beckham Jr., but he has that little short area quickness, that makes you think of AB, or as I like to say, he reminds me of Santonio Holmes, because that's what Santonio Holmes used to do to people. And as I said before, he's more Santonio than AB. Santonio Holmes was Diontae Johnson, except Santonio Holmes had lapses in concentration. But here's the difference. Santonio Holmes in big games, when the lights were the brightest, he showed up. That's what Santonio Holmes did. He showed up. So you say, those catches he made, if he never does anything else in his life, he'll always get that replayed in Steelers lore. Because he won the game. He basically won that game. So it's Diontae has the potential, and I believe in Claypool, but he's still developmental to me. It'll be interesting to see him in his 4th year. I really want to see him in his 4th year. I don't right now. I'm just kind of going with him, but in his 4th year, he'll be an interesting player, because if he develops the way he can, I agree with him. He can be Mapletron. He'll live up. Now he's still Chase Claypool with talent. He's potential. That's it.
Yeah, man. And I put in the comments, and I definitely read some of these, and this is just for open discussion, because John Gotti says feet doesn't determine how good you are. That's like putting AB against Megatron. Again, we're talking about complete receiver. We're not really doing apples to apples. So I said, what does Claypool do better than him? And some of you guys had some good answers. One guy says, look bigger. Rod Young says, high points the ball, blocks better. Absolutely. But that's a different lane, but I agree with that. Combat catch. Yep. Bigger radius for Ben. Yeah, but y'all see what we're saying. We're just talking about pure talent. See, some of these things, Diontae could never be better than that. But to me, that doesn't make him a better receiver. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make a guy a better receiver because he has a bigger radius. Now, of course, him attacking the ball, that is a plus. High pointing the ball, because remember who didn't do that? Who was blazing fast? Yeah. Martavis Bryant. Yeah. So now, if you want me to say who appears to be a better receiver between Claypool and Bryant, I'm going with Claypool, because Claypool seems to be able to do more than what we saw from Martavis Bryant. Similar stature, a little bigger than Martavis.
That's a great, here's the thing. Let me ask you this question. You just made a point. Now you made me think of something. Martavis Bryant versus Chase Claypool, same size, right? Martavis, I will give you that Claypool high points the ball better than Martavis Bryant. But everything else, I would pick Martavis Bryant over him.
Martavis get that separation, boy.
He gets separation. His feet were better. He had a better route tree.
After the catch, he was good
After
too.
the catch, he was better. So what are you saying? You understand what I'm saying? Like
it's tough. It's
the
tough.
stuff that John Gotti's talking about. Those are physical traits. That's a guy bigger than another guy. That's a physical ability. We're talking about a football ability where if the corner's in front of him, can Diontae get separation whenever he wants when he's focused? He gets it whenever he wants. His feet are too good. It's short area quickness. If you don't think short area quickness matters in football, I can't help you. But I would just say watch the tape. Antonio Brown wins all his routes off of short area quickness. That's what Diontae does. They have the same gift. That gift will always get you separation. It always gets you open. Now after that, if you catch the ball, that's on you. But that short area quickness and that route tree that Diontae has, and those physical gifts, Claypool can never be Diontae Johnson in that way because he's not. They're built different. You know what I mean? So it depends on what you want. Do you want the truck or do you want the car that's nimble? You understand what I'm saying? It's just what do you want? So I'm just saying.
Yeah, and understand, guys, I'm not pitting these two guys against each other. What I'm saying is, and to break it all the way down to the essentials, we're talking about best receiver in the NFL, like on our team. We're not just talking about size, and we're just talking about on our team. Who is the more complete package? I love Claypool, but I'm telling you, right now there are things that Diontae Johnson does that Claypool doesn't do. Claypool is not a better route runner than Diontae Johnson. Claypool does not win one-on-one situations better than Diontae Johnson. He doesn't get off the line of scrimmage better than that's what we're saying. Listen, I want Claypool to emerge as the guy.
Yep.
We're just saying, again, like I told you, it's all good. We all had different opinions, but some of us look at the game differently. That's just a fact. Some of us see things differently. So that's what me and Kenyon are saying. If I was a coach, I'm the wide receivers coach, and I'm looking at my crop. I love what James Washington gets me. Because let me tell you, just like he said, he might be the second best guy. He might be the best guy on the team that attacks the ball. And you know who else makes those tough catches? I got to throw Juju in there.
Yep.
Claypool came around, but it was still sometimes I'm like, go get that. James Washington, arguably right now, through what we saw last season, go and gets that ball more than anybody else. So that's what I'm saying. If you're a coach and you got to decide who's my guy that I can put at X, that's Diontae Johnson. That is not Chase Claypool at the moment. That's all we're saying. But great stuff. Great stuff. And oh, wow. Destiny says Ocho Cinco was great because of those feet. This is what I'm saying, Destiny. My man said feet don't matter. Bro, you crazy? Are you crazy? Chat, man, Ocho Cinco, oh my. That boy used to tell you where he was going and still beat you there. But all right, man. Let's get to something else really quick. And again, these are all opinions, man. It doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean Kenyon's right. We're just, we all have our opinions. So that's why I love discussion, man. It's never about beefing or disagreeing. It's just about discussion and seeing how everybody sees it. The only thing else I guess we got left before we get to the quarterbacks, because that'll probably be relatively quick. Let's go ahead and talk about James Pierre, man. Listen, really all we got to show for it is a couple plays that he made in the Cleveland game last year. Had a nice PBU. He did show some good recognition and, stuck to his guy. I'm going to be completely transparent and honest with you guys. I have not watched enough to know. I don't think any of us have seen enough to know what he's going to be. What we do know is Tomlin says that he was a great contributor on special teams. We did see that. He was out there quite often. And what we're hearing now is he picked off Ben Roethlisberger twice in camp. They said one situation was like a 2-minute drill. The question is, if Antoine Brooks Jr. is being looked at as a slot, and I didn't see this coming. I knew that Brooks Jr. came in as a safety, but we know he could play in the box. So then we started saying maybe he's probably going to be the dime backer. But now they talking about him playing nickel. It makes me wonder a couple things, Kenyon. One, James Pierre continues to emerge outside.
Mm-hmm.
When we go nickel, we kick Cam Sutton inside, or we bringing in Brooks Jr. That's one question, because now you're talking about you take Sutton off the field. I don't think that's happening. Or it could end up being this. Antoine Brooks Jr. is doing his thing at nickel. Sutton and Hayden, Sutton and Hayden are playing on the outside. Then when we go dime, now we got a whole lot of guys out there. Now you bring your boy Brooks in, let him be the dime backer, and you get, Pierre on the field. I don't know. It's a lot of opportunities there, and I'm thinking the main thing that I get out of this is we're hearing that there's good competition. Because who knows? I ain't even opposed to this. I doubt this happens, but what if James Pierre turns into the better corner? And what if it's him and Sutton starting on the outside? You never know. You never know. I'm just saying. It's not likely. Y'all know the pecking order in Pittsburgh. I'm just saying. I'm not mad at any of this. Like the fact that we're hearing about Antoine Brooks Jr. at nickel. Soon as I heard that, well, one of us sent it to each other, and I was like, yo, what's this about? I didn't see that coming. So I'm like, man, if we got a couple guys that's balling out there and it's showing up already in minicamp, let's not get too happy. But when training camp starts, then we'll know. And then you got luxury pieces like, Shakir Brown might perk up, and what's the Gilbert kid? I mean,
Gilbert. Yeah.
Norwood. I mean,
Norwood.
Hey, competition, man. And I just want the best secondary that we can put out there on the field. So I think it's interesting, though, because he's getting a lot of attention. And I think, honestly, I'm going to be one to say it. I know I'm not the first. I think it's a little overblown, man, because, listen, we should be happy about the potential of James Pierre being something. But let's not start, because I'm seeing it, man. Steelers fans, y'all know how crazy we are. People are already saying he's going to be a locked. How y'all know that? Lockdown? Come on, man. There's just not enough evidence to know that. But I'm definitely happy. And I love his demeanor, by the way. My man said in his interview, he was pissed that he said a guy caught the ball on me. A guy. This practice. He looking at his own teammates like that. And Kenyon know from playing sports. And y'all know who. Listen, man, this is what I used to say all the time. My cousin, my best friend in the world, played on the same team as me. And I used to even tell them, doing practice, there ain't none of that talking. We of course we teammates and all that, but when I'm in my zone, I'm in my zone. I played against cousins at other schools. I would tell them before the game, do not talk to me on that field. I holler at you after the game. But when you on the opposite side, especially when I was on offense, and I see you on the defense, I'm trying to run through your throat. We ain't boys until after this game. So what I'm saying is, I love hearing that from a dude like that that's hungry, saying, man, I was just pissed off somebody caught the ball on me. This practice. Minicamp. Good start, brother. But we'll see. We'll see. What you think, Kenyon?
I mean, you said you covered everything I was going to say. I mean, I'm with Sim. Like, me and Sim, I've told Sim this before. I played against dudes. Grew up playing against dudes, and we could be best friends. But I get you in my space. It's kill or be killed.
Because if I don't do it, he gonna do it to me.
Right. I just feel like look, we can be best friends. We can maybe go get something to eat after. But while I'm playing you, I really don't know you. I'm really not trying to be friends with you. I'm trying to, like I said, foot on neck. I'm a fan of that. You know what I mean? And people, look, I'm not part of the generation where everybody gets an orange slicey and a Capri Sun. I'm not part of that generation. I'm part of the generation where, you lose, those lessons help you. And that's the demeanor I love from James Pierre. That's a old school mentality. And, I'm from a generation, you lose, man. You might not eat after that.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. You know what I mean? And people say, you shouldn't do that. I'm like, no, but that builds character. That's how you get, you separate the men from the boys. And that's what it's really about. So, I just think that I love Pierre's demeanor. I do agree with you, Sim, that it's going to be tricky because I think Antoine Brooks, who's supposedly going into camp, has that spot.
Yeah.
That means you don't see Pierre in nickel. But what I'm saying is that, but in dime, I do agree with you. You can't put all those guys on it. And I do believe the other cornerbacks behind him, I just think Terrell Austin is great at development. And I think he has plans for, especially, our rookie from Oklahoma, who Terrell Austin talks about as his lump of clay that he wants to build. He's so tall and lanky, you know what I mean, that he can try to turn him into like a Swiss, like you said, Swiss Army knife. And those type of guys, are great. So, I think the key to me is Terrell Austin. I think what Terrell Austin does, I don't think people really understand because he did it in Cincinnati. He's done it, he did it in Detroit. And I just think he's one of those guys that can he's really into development. And so I feel with you, Pierre, I just think 2022, as I said earlier in the show, 2022 is really the year that Pierre starts. I think Hayden won't be there, and I think Pierre starts if he keeps on this track. And I think they've already kind of done that. So, I mean, you hit everything on the head. So, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, man. And listen, it's a good problem to have. Don't feel like you got to debate so soon, Steelers fans, because I see it. Like, why we don't have to do this. Like, let's root for everybody. It's the same thing. Here's a sidebar conversation, and we can have it real quick. Well, actually, it's not even a sidebar. This is going to throw Kenyon into the next topic, and I'm going to let him take the lead on it because y'all know he's the resident scout. But it's the same thing with this Dwayne Haskins stuff, right? Some people are probably overhyping it because good things are coming out of camp. It should. That should be what we're hearing. If we were hearing the other, then it's a problem. But then also, why are we debating in, June 22nd? Why are we debating whether he is going to be better than Mason Rudolph or saying if he doesn't beat off? We don't have to worry about any of that. Like, it's only positive for the Steelers if Dwayne Haskins, because some people are actually acting like they don't want him to, end up being the guy who overtakes. I don't get that. Like, why? What if he actually turns out to be something and they've resurrected his career? Where's the beef? I don't get it. We got Mike Sullivan there now that's proven. What if they somehow are able to resurrect this dude's career? He has a big arm. We know that. I mean, it was funny when Ben said he feel like he could throw the football through a car wash.
Yeah,
that's crazy, and it won't get wet.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, man, why do we always get into that over players that are on your roster? It's very likely that, speaking of cornerback, James Pierre, Antoine Brooks Jr., probably one of those guys like maybe Brown, but maybe Norwood is a guy because Austin is already talking about him. They're gonna be on the roster. So why are we upset or get into these fits about, oh man, he's da da da? I told y'all, once we have 53 men that's on that roster and the additional guys that are on the practice squad, I root for each and every one of them. I have no ill will towards any of them until they show us that they're not that good at their position.
Right.
But I want them all to turn into something. And I'll say it again, and then Kenyon, please take us away with your prospects. If Dwayne Haskins ends up defying the odds, because Kenyon had already told y'all about Ohio State quarterback. If he somehow defies those odds and resurrects his career, and in 2022, he is the starting quarterback for the Steelers and playing well, I have zero complaints with that. Zero. It's a lot of ifs, but I'm just saying that's the type of fan I am. I'm rooting for everybody until they prove to me, well, I guess your time has come. You know what I mean? So that's all I got on that, man.
And just to pick it up from what Sim was saying, as he said, look, I've said in the chat, I've told Sim that our quarterback of the future is not currently on our roster. But look, I want to be wrong. I'm just gonna keep it 100. I want it to be wrong. I actually want to be wrong. I want Dwayne Haskins or I want Mason Rudolph to emerge in some way. You still have to have some type of faith in your players at some point. And if they emerge and Dwayne Haskins and or if Mason Rudolph take a leap, which is always possible. I can't say it's not possible. If they take the leap, I'm all in. You know what I'm saying? But as I told Sim, as I tell people in the chat, the last 2 years I have not scouted quarterbacks. Sim will tell you this. I have not told him to look at certain quarterbacks. We haven't really paid attention to quarterbacks. I haven't, at least. And, but the next 2 years I will be scouting quarterbacks. And there are prospects that in Matt Canada's system that he wants to run, which we will not see this year because Ben will be the quarterback. In the system that he wants to run, the system he ran in Maryland, the system he ran at LSU, and the system he ran at Pitt. In his system, there are quarterbacks that fit the system better. And in 2022, as Sim knows, and I will just throw names out, and you guys can do whatever. I'm already kind of doing homework on them, and Sim hasn't really watched anybody. I've only watched certain people. So, but Sam Howell, North Carolina, Sim knows about him. Sim loves him. We both like him. Spencer Rattler, Oklahoma. I've thrown in Keaton Slow from USC, but he's not a fit for Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? He's just not. So I don't have high hopes for him. Malik Willis is the guy I've been talking about a lot in the chat. I've watched the game. I would encourage you guys to watch the game he plays. You can go on YouTube and watch it. Liberty, he plays for Liberty. Liberty versus Virginia Tech. They have the whole game on there, and he shows out in that game. So you can watch that game, and that's a Division I game. And you can watch him in that game, and you can see what I saw from that game. I've only seen him once, and that's somebody I will watch a lot this year in 2021. There's Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. I saw him play a couple of times last year. Antoine has mentioned him before. He was kind of on my back burner, but I'm going to start to really focus on him because he's an RPO type guy that will fit in that system. There's JT Daniels out of Georgia, former USC guy. Not necessarily an RPO guy, but I just think he's going to have a big year at Georgia. And I'm telling you guys now, you're going to hear his name a lot when the draft comes around because they're going to say this guy he can be a franchise quarterback for you. There's Charlie Show out of Texas Tech. I've seen a little bit of him, don't know a lot about him. Carson Strong, Nevada. I've watched him a couple of times. Pretty good guy. I would encourage you. Matt Corral, who Sim saw and talked to me about, I already knew about him because he's from Los Angeles, so I saw him play in high school. So, I already knew what he was. But Sim really liked him. He was asking me questions about him. So that's somebody that can run that offense. He can run. He does have an arm. He has a gun. I would say Malik Willis has the strongest arm of anybody in this class that's coming out. He has a gun. He has accuracy issues, and he's little. He's 6'1", 6'2" ish. So that's kind of but you don't have to be 6'5" anymore because of the offenses that offense that Canada's running. You want a mobile guy, and he's mobile. He's more mobile. He's not as mobile as Lamar Jackson, but he's more mobile than the other quarterbacks in our division. He's more mobile than, not as mobile as the kid out of Arizona. I would say that he's a step below them, but he can run. So that's one thing I would tell you about Malik Willis. And that's pretty much it. Those are the guys. I mean, there's Jaden Daniels out of Arizona State, 6'4", 6'5". I saw him playing high school. My boys, one of my friends played with his father in high school, and his father had Jaden Daniels. That's his kid. So they know each other. So we all knew each other. So I've known about Jaden for a long time. He's real wiry, kind of like Randall Cunningham. Think Randall Cunningham type, you know what I mean? So I would encourage you guys. Those are guys I'll be looking at 2022. I'm only getting into quarterback. Those are the only quarterbacks I'm getting into right now. As the year progresses, I'll get into other players. But those are the guys I will tell you. But Malik Willis and, Spencer Rattler out of Oklahoma, Sam Howell, those guys I will tell you. Desmond Riddler, Matt Corral. Those are the guys I'm looking at. But Steelers might be in the market for a quarterback for 2022. I'm just saying. They got quarterbacks, but as they've said before, they will not shy away from competition. And if they can get somebody in the draft that they feel that could be a franchise quarterback, they will take them. And do I think Malik Willis, they draft him, will start? No. I think it would probably either be, Rudolph or, or Haskins. But you can always stack, prepare for the future. And you can keep the train rolling. But to me, the guy that I would love would be Malik Willis, but I'm not banking on that. I don't put all my eggs in one basket when it comes to that. So I would say Malik Willis is the guy. But you can watch him on YouTube. I'm encouraging you guys to go watch him against Virginia Tech. Come back to me, tell me what you think. If you like him, if you don't. I'm just saying, the guy is dynamic. I mean, he's uber dynamic. I think he's from Virginia. So that's another thing I think about when this happens. So that's just my little pre-2021 guys I'm looking at. I would encourage you guys to check people out, and that's pretty much it. But if Haskins becomes a guy, I'm cool with it. I want him to succeed, but I just stated I just think the franchise guy is not on our team, but he might be, but you never know.
Little dude from Louisiana Lafayette, he didn't come out, right? Is he going back to school? What's his name?
Yeah, you're talking about
Lewis, Levi Lewis.
You liked him. Yeah, you liked him. Yeah.
He's interesting, man. He's a smaller guy. He's 5'10", and not saying that he would work for the Steelers, but I am interested in seeing what happens with him because he's one of those crafty little guys, man. Like when he plays, so I think he would be like a neat player for somebody in the league, and it's going to be interesting to see if he makes it and what he turns out to be because that dude he seems like he could be dynamic, man. I don't know how long he would last, but I think he's going to be a dynamic quarterback for somebody, whoever takes a chance. Like I said, he's a small guy, man. I mean, they have him listed at 5'10", 184, and for quarterback, that's little dude.
But that doesn't matter now because of the offenses that you're running, and also you forget about the kid out of Miami that was at Houston. Remember, he came back to school because he broke his leg. Remember that dynamic quarterback. So you have him at Miami. You know what I'm talking about? You have him, and then you have Spencer Rattler is not 6 feet out of Oklahoma. He's not 6 feet. But here's the thing about him: Oklahoma is becoming a quarterback factory. You know what I mean? They're producing NFL quarterbacks because of the RPO systems that are being run. So Rattler will be the next in line to be a high draft pick, top 5 pick. So I don't necessarily think quarterback's going to be the number 1 pick next year. I think the number 1 pick next year might be the kid I told you about out of Oregon that's from LA, Kevon Thibodeau, the defensive end, who they're comparing to, a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? So if he has a big year, he'll go high. So, it's early, but I will be scouting quarterbacks in 2022. And, of course, in 2023, everybody knows I love DJ Ukulele out of Clemson, 6'5". Ben Roethlisberger. He's Ben Roethlisberger, but he's faster than him. And you can argue he has a stronger arm than Ben does. So, but you have to see him play. He's only a sophomore. So it's early. This is all, it's summertime. It's not, it's all we can talk about.
What's funny, man? A lot of these guys, when you think about it, I'm just looking at Jalen Hurts.
Right.
A lot of these dudes kind of fit the Michael Vick mold in terms of body makeup now.
Right.
Where they could be a running back because they're like 200 plus, but they're not super tall, like 6 feet, 6'1".
Right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I think we got it all, man. I don't think there's anything else. We're looking at chat, man. Anything else you guys want to throw at us really quick before we get out of here? We went over to James Pierre, Trai Turner, Antoine Brooks, Diontae Johnson, Steve Nelson, and prospective quarterbacks. I think that's about it. Come on, guys. Throw us something, man. We'll sit around for a little bit. Keep an eye on David DeCastro, man. Let's see what's going on with that. Thank you so much, Lanisha. And guys, I will say this. The lovely ladies are working on, they'll be back soon, man. They professional with theirs, man. I was told by them, by Debbie and Lanisha that, they want to get some more stuff together before they come back on, man. See, y'all know how the ladies do, man. They professional. But I think when they come back, you guys will enjoy it. They've been giving me some advice as well, man, on some things that I should do. So you know how ladies take care of you, man. So appreciate y'all for that. So stay tuned. Anything else, guys? Come on, man. We'll stick around for a few minutes.
Any questions?
Ain't nobody talking tonight. Trying to think, man. I thought it was something else I wanted to hit on, but I think we already did some of the side topics.
Oh, we didn't talk about Alex Highsmith.
Alex Highsmith, but I didn't even put him in the comments. But yeah, we'll talk about him really quick, man. Expectations. Not even diving deep into it. I will say this. I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack, and I'm not going to force him to have double-digit sacks right out the gate. I would like to see him have moderate pressure. At least, we're talking about he's in the top. Let me think. Can he be within the top 30 as far as pressuring the quarterback? And that's very modest. But what I'm saying is, if he doesn't have a bunch of sacks, can we at least say, because, I've saw some clips on YouTube where a couple guys do a great job breaking down footage, and they were showing how close he was. If he can continue to do that, and let's say he walks out the next season with 8 sacks, I'm good with that. I'm not going to, throw him to the wolves yet and say, man, you've got to, if you don't get double-digit sacks, then, you're a bust and all. I'm not doing any of that. Remember, this guy is a third rounder as well. There's no bust here if he doesn't pan out. And I'm looking to see him improve his run game. I think that's going to be one of the main things that he's compared to in terms of Bud Dupree. Bud was good against that run, man. I give him that. He could set the edge. He was pretty good in that area. So I want to see Highsmith be able to at least fill in that void consistently, where we're saying he's decent against the run, fairly decent, or let's say relative. I want to say a little something higher than decent. Above average pass rusher. How about that? I don't want him to be average. I would like him to at least be able to get pressures when he's not getting sacks. But I'm not expecting this dude to be the next TJ Watt or Von Miller or Khalil Mack. I'm not expecting that right now. Let's give him some time to grow. I just want to see him be a solid contributor. And I think if Alex Highsmith comes out of this season with 7 to 8 sacks and decent pressures, that's all we can ask for, because we got that dog on the other side. So that's what I got for him, man.
I guess I would agree with that. I mean, for me, Alex Highsmith, it's his second year. So
yeah,
in his second year, he has to improve on the run part, but there are things, as Sim and I pointed out, that he does better than Bud did at the same stage.
Yeah.
And it's not always that you have to get a sack. It's can you create pressure and press the pocket and do that type of stuff. And to me, he's more versatile. So being more versatile will help him. And I think that he's a guy that I think people have said he's like the weak link. They're saying it's a loss for having Bud Dupree being gone, but I just think he's going to have a good year. And I think if he gives me 6 to 7 sacks, I'm cool. If he gives me like multiple pressures, I'm great. If he disrupts stuff, I'm happy. And I just think his upside is so good that, to me, I'm looking at him like, yo, I just want to see him keep growing. And if he keeps growing, it's great. So my impressions of him are great. And as Sim said, you watch film on him, you watch the stuff he can do good. He's not bad against the run. It's just it's experience. It's just not playing there. So the more experience he gets, he's only going to get better. And you could if Bud had Alex Highsmith pass rush moves when he first came in the league, Bud wouldn't be gone. So if you want to have that discussion, you know what I mean. But I think that Alex Highsmith has some pass rush moves that. I mean, he has moves that TJ don't have. He's more comparable. If you want to have a real comparison, he's more comparable to Von Miller than Bud was, who worked with Von Miller. He's more comparable to Von. He has some of Von's moves and he's never worked with mine. He already has him. He has that ghost and that some of that stuff. He already has it. So, I'm excited about Alex Highsmith, and that's how I feel about that. But I think somebody in the chat asked us who we think is going to start alongside Devin Bush, and I think we already know that. I think it's.
Oof. Oh man, I struggle with this, man. I'm gonna do most likely to who it could be to who it would be great to be if they were able to prove themselves. Most likely, I think this might be somewhat of a curveball, but most likely, honestly, might be Spillane. You probably would have expected me to say Vince Williams there, but I don't know. I think Spillane has carved out a spot. Vince Williams is still Vince Williams, but see, let's not forget, Vince Williams will more than likely still be the guy, maybe, depending on what Spillane does, but you can see Vince Williams coming in the early downs, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go nickel and when we keep two backers out there, it's probably going to be Spillane and Bush, more than likely, because we already start seeing that start to happen where we were getting Williams off the field more. And the Steelers love to go nickel where it's, and traditionally you have two inside backers, but we don't toy too much with bringing a safety in that position. We did it a little bit, a year or so ago, but so you probably don't see Brooks Jr. in that situation. Well, maybe if he's in a nickel, but you probably don't see like a bigger guy or a safety come down and play alongside Bush in the nickel. We don't do that much. We tried it a little bit with Cam Kelly when he was there, and
right.
But more than likely we're still going to do the two backer set in nickel. We play nickel more than we play base, so automatically, if I'm saying start, I'm going to say Spillane. And Spillane could be the early down guy. Next after that, if it's not Spillane, it will be Vince Williams. And then who would I love for it to be if he played out of his mind? Buddy Johnson. I'm actually now, it's sad to say this, man, but again, just to prove to you guys, we don't fall in love with players. We might like players, but if they didn't, if they're not doing it, then let's move on to the next one. I'd rather see what Buddy Johnson, what his trajectory is going to be more so than UG3 now. Sorry. I mean, not saying that UG3 still couldn't get it done, but to me, last year showed me something. Remember when Bush went down and we were all saying, oh man, UG3 might step up, especially on passing downs. That's what his strong suit was supposed to have been. We didn't really see him play. We didn't see him play much.
That's true. Yeah.
It was Spillane and Williams and Allen, and then I forget because see when the football season is over, years run together. Williamson was there too last year.
Yeah, Avery came in. Yeah.
See, you bring this guy in while UG3 is on your roster. So I'm more interested in seeing what Buddy Johnson can do. So, but I'll put him as the third likely to start. Yeah. First would be Spillane.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think I have Spillane 1. I have Vince 2. I mean, they can still go back to the base, have Vince being their base because he's great against the run. And one thing you can say about Vince, he's great. He's a great blitzer. He's great blitzing. You know what I mean? So you can kind of go back to the way it was and have Spillane be the nickel guy. But I do think Spillane has a little bit of a leg up. I think they might go with Spillane in base and just keep him on the field. I do agree with you with Buddy Johnson. I think UG3 is behind Allen. I just think he is. I think UG3, he's injured too much. He's always hurt. So when you're always hurt, it's tough for you to get reps and to get better. I think Buddy Johnson, I am with you. I'm intrigued by him. I want to see him get better because people are saying he's basically a more athletic version of Vince Williams. If that's true, then he can be a potential starter for you alongside Bush. So, I mean, that's how I feel about it. I think Spillane has earned his shot. I think Spillane is is good in coverage, and I think he complements Bush well. And I think that he's more. You can argue he's more of a new age linebacker, inside linebacker. You kind of need that, And I think that, but I think Buddy Johnson, if they can develop in the right way, he has a shot. So I'll be interested to see in training camp how these guys work out. So I mean, that's all I have on that. I think you said it. You hit it right on the head.
And Buddy Johnson got a little bit of speed, man. A little sideline to side action, sideline to sideline action. And one thing that we can't forget, and I'm just looking it up here just to make sure, even though I actually thought he was bigger than this, Spillane seems to be a bigger dude.
Right.
They got him listed as 6'1", 229, but he seemed bigger than that to me. So I was going to say, let's not forget Spillane, his body mass or what have you. But, he's not that big. Well, I guess that's still kind of solid for a middle linebacker. But, some of them dudes be like 6'3".
Yeah, but if you're 6'1", and lanky.
And 230. Yeah,
it's this body type. If you're 6'1" and lanky, he has long arms. So that's different than 6'1", and you know what I mean? It just depends on what your body is. So, yeah, I would agree with that.
And Spillane, y'all already know where I'm going with this. Y'all know me and demeanor and heart. What that boy did meeting Derrick Henry at the goal line, that Spillane, he won me over. Listen, Robert Spillane, I viewed him the same as I did, and this isn't all the way fair because he wasn't with us that long. Robert Spillane was just recently with us, but I kind of viewed him the same way I viewed Dirty Red. It's like, what can they really give us on defense? Didn't know much about him. He bounced around a little bit. But when he got out there, man, I mean, even his first start, he gets a little pick six on Lamar. But
true.
What that boy did against Derrick Henry,
that
was it for me. I said, all right, I'm rocking.
That was
even
his I'm a Steeler moment. I'm a Steeler now. That was his I'm a Steeler moment. Yeah. I agree.
His shoulder got hurt in the process, but I mean, come on. King Henry ain't nothing to play with, man. But yeah, that's weird, man, because they say, Vince Williams is listed as 6'1", 234. See, Spillane just looks bigger. He looks, like you said, maybe he's leaner. He looks tall out there.
He's long. Like, if you look at his body, he's long. He doesn't look, he's not, not necessarily like, what I mean? He's just a long guy. So when you're long like that, you look bigger. So his 6'1" looks different than somebody else that, 6'1" and has short arms. That matters. You know what I mean? That matters, that arm length. So, yeah, but I agree with you on Spillane. I can't wait. I'm with you on Spillane. I can't wait. I'm with you.
I like it, man. I like it.
And I like Buddy. I like what I'm seeing from Buddy Johnson. Like you said, he's underrated speed, so and I'm with that too. So,
Scuba Steve says, real quick before we get out of there, he says, don't sleep on Calvin Bundage. I won't, but I will say this, and this is kind of what's unfortunate, man, about NFL rosters in preseason. If y'all notice a lot, what is further down you are in the depth chart with linebacker, especially with us, and maybe all teams, they don't get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
We might not see him much because you got to think. You spent a draft pick this year on Buddy Johnson. You're going to get him in the game in preseason.
Yep.
Maybe even UG3.
That's
to
true.
See if, okay, we still going to keep Marcus Allen at the inside linebacker, or UG3, we give you another check. You're probably going to see those guys play in preseason more. And again, I'm talking, you take Bush and whoever his partner is off the field. So let's say it's Bush and Spillane. Vince Williams, a little bit. They don't really need to see a whole lot out of Vince.
No, you don't. Yeah.
Marcus Allen's going to get time. Buddy Johnson's going to get time, and more than likely UG3, because the Steelers have a habit of, let's say, we'll give you one last go at it. So how much is Bundage really, how much burn is he going to get in preseason? That's the question. And he, unfortunately, might be one of those guys that end up, well, you never know. You never know what happens at camp. But he could end up being one of those dudes that hangs on the practice squad or just, just doesn't make it. So,
and you just named five people. Like when you just broke it down, you said Bush, that's the first pair. Second pair, you're talking about, Buddy Johnson and UG3 or Allen. So that's your second pair.
Yeah.
And then your third. So where's the snaps? he would have to make an impression in camp so great that, you know what I mean, it's just a long shot. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Outside Mr. Winningham is interesting. Because I'm probably forgetting somebody, but if I'm not mistaken, it's, you know, TJ, Highsmith, Rochet, Marsh. Who's behind that? I mean, it might be somebody else. I don't know.
That's it. Well, they got the Notre Dame kid, but I just think the Steelers are going to not draft. They may sign another guy and then bring him into camp. You know what I mean? And as for competition purposes and do it like that. I think you may see that. Other than, I think that's what you'll see. I just don't.
Yeah.
I think Rochet is really in a good position to be the third guy and to really, you know, produce. And that, to me, it's an underrated way that he got on the Steelers, and I kind of like it. And you know, I kind of went back and watched them, and I like Rochet. And I'm pretty sure he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. He felt like he should have got drafted way higher and all that stuff. So I'm excited about Rochet. So, you know.
Yeah, and he had dogs ahead of him.
Yeah.
So, you know, naturally, when you playing with other dudes like that got drafted, you know, you're gonna have, even if it ain't nothing against them, you're gonna have that natural chip. Like, yo, I could ball too.
Yep. So, I'm better than that guy. I'm better than this kid. You know, that's how you're gonna look at it. So I agree with you. It should be
me too, Mr. Winningham. Marsh. And listen, let's just hope he turns into a Spillane. Show me what you got, young fella. Because right now, I don't know what it is. I just don't see it. So who knows? Maybe he'll surprise us. But yeah, I think Rochet has a chance to emerge. I got to do better at scouting as far as current players. I'm honestly, and I mean, I got Game Pass. I probably should spend some time doing that before camp starts, just to see what does Marsh have. I mean, is there anything that I see there that there's some potential? I did see something. Yeah, see Antoine Hill. I did see something about that today. You know, even Steelers Depot put it out. You know, what do you think about potentially a Chase Winovich? I'd love that. You know, I would love that.
Yeah.
Does make me wonder though if Belichick is not bringing him back. Yeah, because you know Belichick is he's one of those dudes too. Like we always talk about how Kevin Colbert shops in the dumpster. Belichick is known for taking these decent guys and making them look like great players in their system. So it would concern me a little bit if he's not able to, you know, turn into anything there. But I mean, listen, take a chance. If he's there, take a chance. You know.
Hey, so if we can get Winovich, I'll be ecstatic. He's an upgrade over Marsh, and I actually like him better than Rochet as far as pass rushing goes. So, and you know, he played with Bush in college, and that would be nice. So for me, I would be cool if they made a deal like that. It wouldn't bother me. It just depends on what you would have to give up.
What you got to give up, yeah.
What you got to give up. That's all it comes down to. When if Belichick is done with him, you got to remember, me and Sim wanted Winovich.
Yes,
we were in that draft like we want Winovich. So for us, that's good. So yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, I'll take it. But all right, guys, man, I knew this one would be a little longer than normal. We had 100. We had an hour and 43 minutes now, so I'm going to go ahead and end it. Go spend some time with the family and watch this game, man, since, you know, I can watch basketball freely now without cussing and yelling at everybody, even though I still do it. My wife be like, yo, you just be – it's funny because a lot of times I say stuff and then, like, say Charles and them will come on. She's like, that's what you were saying. I just hate when players make stupid mistakes, even if it ain't the Steelers. Like, I could watch other games and I'm like, why would you do that?
Right.
Basketball players, one pet peeve that I have still, and again, Kenyon knows this as well as I do, and Kenyon watched basketball longer than I have. I know the game is different now, but man, I cringe sometimes when I see the amount of 3-point attempts that happen in a game when you don't need it. Dog, it's dudes who are not bona fide 3-point shooters. They in transition. Nobody under the basket, and they pull up for the three. Like, what are you doing? It's 18 seconds on the clock, bruh. It drives me crazy because teams like the Jazz have sometimes been able to, put up records and all that for the most, but then when they off. Stop shooting them 3-pointers when they falling, man. Go get that 2.
Look,
go get the 2, man.
You live by the 3, you die by the 3. And I said this before, what Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors did to the NBA was make the NBA, it's like a virus. The problem is that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are the only people that can do that on a consistent basis. So so what happens is you got a gang of kids coming up now that want to shoot the 3. And I'll just point out one play that I would encourage everybody to say, it's the worst basketball play I've ever seen in my life. And here's the thing. My nephew plays, he's like 11 years old. And I showed him this play to show him what the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do. There's a play that the Denver Nuggets had during the season. Before Jamal Murray gets hurt, they're going down on the break. It's 4-on-1. I want you guys to understand what I'm saying. 4-on-1 on the break. The other 3 guys, Jamal Murray has the ball. The other 3 guys, they run to the 3-point line. It was the end of the game. All they needed was 2. They ran to the 3-point line. I was like, that is the worst play I've ever seen in basketball. And I was like, the 3-point is killing the game.
And the look on Jamal Murray's face, he was like, yo, what are you serious?
And I was like, that's where we are now. You know what I mean? You got guys that can't shoot, that want to shoot, that want to shoot the 3. So I agree with Sim. It's funny. Me and Sim don't really text during basketball when basketball games are on. And because the way we text during football season is crazy. It's almost like it's ridiculous. I just don't bother Sim with basketball because I know he loves Philly. And I don't want to be texting him. And then he starts texting with me because he knows I know what I'm talking about. So he's gonna probably be like, "Yo, what do you feel about this?" And I don't even want to get into that because we do that enough during the season. So I leave him alone. But I always tell him, if you ever want, I just try to tell him the truth when he asks me questions. I try to tell Antoine Hill the truth. So I just try to tell y'all the truth when it came to Philly. I said, "Look, I love Doc, but I experienced him. I know what he's about." So I agree with it. Yeah, it's the state of the NBA right now. That's where we at right now. It's kind of sad. You think about it. It limits the player's game. Think about people's game now. Their game is that I can either shoot the 3 or I can dunk.
Yeah.
I have no mid range. I have no post game. I have all that's gone. It's whew. Like I said, I was born in the wrong era. Because if I was born in this era, I wouldn't be on SteelTable right now.
There you go. Yeah, man. So we'll see. Come next week when I see you guys again. We'll see what happened with some of these games. Let's see right now. It's a 11-8 Phoenix. So I'm gonna go watch that. But all right, guys, man, this was a great one, man. I love when we do the SteelTable. Definitely look forward to the next one. But a lot of times, it's always good to save these for when we got a lot to talk about. So we'll get back to it. Hopefully, let me see. Heads up, by the way, and I'll say this even as I approach it. We are actually, and I say we, my family, we're going to Florida week after 4th of July. We'll be there for 3 weeks visiting my father-in-law. He lives in Tampa. So I'll still be doing the show. But in case anything is different, I won't have my background and all that. Just giving y'all a heads up. He has a pool, so you might see some shows where I'm sitting outside by the pool. Just giving y'all a heads up, man, that we'll be doing that. So, but I'll give y'all enough time. So like I said, in case anything goes wrong, y'all know why. If the sound ain't the same, I'm going to take the mic, but the laptop is different than the desktop, yada, yada, yada. But just giving y'all an early heads up on that. But outside of that, man, we thank y'all for coming through. Had a great time tonight. Everybody be well, be safe. God bless, and good night. Catch y'all later. Peace.